Okay, now that's recorded and you got everything you need, right?
Yep.
How do you know it's recording?
Because I can see it here.
Oh, okay.
It's done it once or twice.
It doesn't always mean. Sit back here with the cool kids. Oh, there's nobody on my row. What does that mean?
All right, everyone. Hello. Our topic was Chapter 4, recruitment. So how do people find careers that they work in for their entire lives? Many people just have a traditional view that candidates apply for the jobs with the industry companies that they're looking for. However, this is not the case. Recruitment has been a modernized approach to how we select the best candidates for the positions. Recruitment is defined as a process that provides the organization with a pool of qualified candidates from which to choose from to fill a specific position within the organization. This is completely different to the approach that they take in the past, where they just review applications from candidates that have applied directly. Recruitment is a proactive approach, and you actually go out and seek the person with the skills and background and education that is right for the job that you're trying to fill. So, like I said, it's a proactive approach to hiring. You're not just waiting around, waiting for people to come in and apply to the position that you're looking to fill. This is it's a specific target just for the type of people that are that have the qualifications for your job. So you'll see a faster turnaround of how the company sources candidates. So some reasons why recruitment is needed. One of the most common is growth. If a company experiences growth, they're going to need to hire more employees to sustain that growth. Other reasons include turnover, promotions, and layoffs. So industry growth has another effect on recruitment. When an industry grows, by default, the organization within that industry will also grow. So it causes a chain reaction that requires them to put a plan of action together and try and recruit to fill those needs. So the next steps after they decided that they need to hire is HR will coordinate with management and develop a strategic outline and a timeline for how they're going to proceed and fulfill these positions. They must keep in mind laws like the EEOC as well. So how they do this is they conduct a job analysis. Usually it's through a survey or a website that provides the company with the data. Conducting interviews of workers and management is another way to collect this data. And you can also just collect it through observations you make on your own. So job analysis is used to create the job description. The job description defines the requirements and responsibilities of the position. HR and management also have to come up with a salary range for the position to remain within the company budget. So these are some of the common things that are in a job analysis: job title, job location, who the position reports to, working conditions, job duties, equipment. So you can see they're all listed there on the graphic. So that's used to form what's called a job description, and the job description contains the duties, responsibilities, and requirements of the position that it regards. Some examples may include required years of experience, education, or maybe they want somebody from a specific industry with that type of background. So in order to find those candidates, you have to develop a recruitment plan. They need to find out what positions are their top priorities, how are they going to seek out that talent. Usually internal emails is a first step for many companies. If there's no internal references to fill positions, they usually go to job boards and social media. Up here on the screen, you see a lot of websites you guys are probably familiar with. They've really drastically changed the way companies recruit in the past few decades. It's also pretty cheap and cost effective. I mean, you can post something on Monster for around $100, and it stays up there for about a month or so. So staffing plans allow the company to gain a better perspective of what they're setting out to accomplish during the recruitment process. These plans are based upon the budget and the short and long-term goals of an organization. A common example of what they need to plan for would be the effect of external and internal influences. They have a direct role to play on how the company proceeds, and one of them they can control and one of them they cannot. The internal factors are factors factors that are obstacles that reside within the organization, and the company must do everything in its power to overcome that. How the company manages these internal factors will determine their success of what kind of talent they'll find for candidates. On the other hand, external factors are outside factors that are out of the control of the organization that can directly affect the recruitment process. Changes in technology, laws, the unemployment rate, shifts in population, and competition are all external factors that companies must avoid in order to keep up and maintain the top quality candidates they're looking for. So companies hope that all their hard work and planning will land them an all-star candidate. The recruiting process increases the chances of this because, like I said in the beginning, they're targeting that specific skill set, and that helps to reduce the costs and ease the transition of a new hire into the organization. So this is a recap. The recruitment process, they need awareness for the recruitment, develop your plan, perform a job analysis, and create the job description. Source your candidates, review resumes, and interview the candidates that you've chosen, and hire the best one for your company. So in closing, finding the right candidate is a difficult and long road, but they're out there waiting, and there's many different ways to get there and find them. But a lot of people are looking for their dream job, and the recruiting process is helping people find their dreams and get their own career jobs. That's it for me. He's got a
So my name is Carol. I'm going to talk a little bit more about so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the recruiting process. So like he said, it's trying to find for the organization qualified candidates, and I'm going to go over the steps, which, sorry, can I start over? I skipped all of them. I'm going to go back. Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm going to go over the recruiting process. So I'm also going to talk about what to do before recruiting, because there are a lot of things that you should be handling before you even start recruiting people. And then also what factors go into the recruiting process, as well as influence your decisions. So staffing plans are the first step. Like he talked about, developing a job analysis, job description, job specifications and development, and then knowing the laws with recruitment, and then creating a recruitment plan, accepting application materials, and then eventually the selection process. So first off, companies have to implement proper staffing plans and forecasting to determine how many people they need and where they need the people. So the forecast is mostly going to be based on the annual budget of the organization, as well as the short and long-term plans of the company. So for example, if they are planning on expanding, you kind of need to figure out where you are going to need your people, what areas you need your people, and how many people you need. This would be an example of the staffing plan for a project. You can see the employee's role, responsibilities, and skills. as well as the number of staff required for each of the positions. So part of this would come from the job analysis and job specifications, which we're going to talk more about in detail later. And then the organizational life cycle is also a big part in the staffing plans. So depending on where you are in the cycle, you may be considering different strategies that may require different staffing amounts and needed or unneeded positions. So before starting to recruit, like I said, companies must create a staffing plan and collect forecasting data. So forecasting data is just based on both internal and external factors. Forecasting data helps the HR professional find the gaps and so that you can recruit the individuals to fix those gaps. So one of the ways is quantitative forecasting, which is done by using numerical information about the past. This helps to make assumptions about the future based on the patterns that the company has seen. So using this, there are different methods within the quantitative method that you can use for specific purposes. Cross-sectional forecasting is aimed to predict something that hasn't happened in the past. So this is just cases that you have seen, using it to predict certain variables. So this would be internally or externally and can be used to compare one or more variables. Time series forecasting is used for something that changes over time, which would be like stocks, profits, and sales. And this data also helps predict future data to help recruiters specify who they need or how many people they need, as well as budget accordingly for who they can or can't hire. So some internal factors would be the budget constraints, expected or trend of employee separations, as well as production levels, sales increasing or decreasing, as well as global expansion plans. Some external factors would be, like we talked about, changes in technology, the changes in laws, unemployment rates, shifts in population, shifts in urban, suburban, and rural areas, as well as incoming competition. So using all of this information, HR professionals can analyze the data to see where the gaps exist and then begin to recruit individuals with the right skills, education, and backgrounds based on these internal and external variables. So you're making sure that you're getting the best for your company. So once there's a staffing plan, you can begin developing a job analysis, which we'll go into more detail later. And from there, you would write a job description, job specifications, and then with that, you would want to talk about laws with recruitment and the recruitment plan. So implementing it and starting to accept application materials would be your next step, and then eventually selection. So I'm just going to go over the remaining steps briefly. So job analysis would just be determining what tasks people perform in their jobs to make sure they're the right fit between the job and the employee. And then from there, this would create an accurate job description to find what you really do need in an employee for that position. And then job specifications are something derived from the job analysis. These are skills and abilities the person must have to perform the job that you're looking to fill. So we'll discuss more about how to create a good job description later, and just to make sure you're finding the right candidate. So laws and recruitment are crucial as well, so that you can correctly apply the law. And then the law is also very clear on fair hiring that is inclusive to all people applying for the job. So you want to make sure that you are being inclusive and making it fair for everyone. And then knowing and understanding these laws would help make the recruitment process easier. After you can begin creating a recruitment, after that you can begin creating a recruitment plan. And then this can be informal, but you do want to have an outline of where you want to recruit, as well as who you're looking to recruit, and an expected timeline. And then once you have a recruitment plan, you can begin implementing it by carrying out your strategy, which best suits your company. And then you can start accepting applications and application materials for the position that you're hiring for. So selection is the last step. And within selection, there are several steps, which we did talk about in a different group's presentation. This would just be criteria development, application and resume review, interviews, test administration, selection, and then making an offer. And then if you follow these steps, you'll have a successful recruitment and then find the right people for your company and for your workforce. So from here, my group members will now go into more detail about the process that we just discussed.
Is that it? Oh. Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm here to talk about job analysis and job description. Oh, there it is. So job analysis, what it is, it's a system developed to determine what tasks tasks people actually need to use to get the job. So basically, it's everything an employee is required and expected to do. They use it to make sure the right person is recruited rather than getting it wrong. And then we have the process of writing of job analysis. So it's basically the research of reviewing job responsibilities. The first step is identify the jobs to be analyzed, determine the procedure to be used, and implement the job analysis methods, review the data collected, summarize the data, and create a job description specification. The purpose is to use particular information to create a right fit between the job and employee. So the performance, the worth of the particular task, and the training and development that needs to be done to create. So the first step is the training and development. The difference is between the expected and the actual output. This determines the level of training that needs to be done. The training and development, it helps them decide what content, what tools, what equipment, and what methods to be used. So whether they want to use the small groups, large groups, computer-based, or video-based. And then we have compensation management, which is deciding the pay packages and extra perks and benefits. So depending on the position, the job title, and duties and responsibilities, and the education, and it helps decide the worth of an employee for a particular job. Then we have recruitment selection, which is the kind of person is required to perform a particular job. It points out the level of experience, education requirement, technical and physical, emotional, and personal skills, and then selection test, which is written or oral.
I forgot my snacks.
You're
Go right ahead.
distracting me.
Don't let me bother you.
And then the performance analysis, which are the goals and the objective that needs to be met at the end. It helps decide the performance standard, evaluation criteria, and the individual's output. See, now you messed me up. I was
Oh, that was
going.
my fault. You're blaming that on me, huh?
And then we have what to collect. You have a job content, which is what is expected of an employee, so the duties of an employee. Then we have job contacts, which is working conditions and whom to report to. And then we have job requirements, which is the skills and knowledge that is needed, and the education qualifications. There's two types of job analysis. There's a task-based and a competency-based. The task-based is basically the duties of the job. Their tasks are specific, they're clear, and they're listed. And then competency is how the knowledge works and how the knowledge and skills are used. They're less clear and more objective. The task, see, now you're just messing me up today. The competency base is high-level positions, which is like a vice president of sales position. It shows team orientation, leadership, innovation, and customer focus. It means more. And a task-based base is basically listed as in answering incoming phone calls, prepare reports, assist customers with product questions. The methods of using a job analysis is questionnaire, observation, and interviewing. Choosing one depends on the needs and requirements of the organization. When they're combined, you get more out of it. Brings out the hidden and overlooked information. It's a great tool for creating a perfect job candidate. First one, we have observation. It's the most difficult to the fact that every person has their way of observing. There's direct observation, work methods, and critical incident techniques, which is identifying the work behaviors that result in performance. Then we have interviewing. The most common one is face-to-face. An interview, so he or she comes up with their working styles and problems they face, particular skills that are required. It helps know what exactly an employee thinks about his or her own job. Then we have a questionnaire, which is the most used, whether it's online or written. It helps fill out the employees. It's filled out by the employees, the supervisors, and the managers, and it gets the true job-related information out. This is an example of a questionnaire. So basically, everything that's listed is the job information, so the job title, how long you worked in the position, and how many years of experience you've had. They also list the key tasks and requirements and physical demands, whether it's heavy lifting or the ability to see, hear, or walk. And there's also specific skills required, like running a specific computer program. And then also if there's any certifications that you need. And then after that, we have to create a job description specification. The description is more basic job-related data. It gives the recruiting staff a clear view of what exactly the candidate needs. And then the specification, it discusses the skills and abilities the person must have to perform. The job description is general purpose. It has the job title, the job location, job summary, and working conditions, and also job duties. And then while the job specification, it's more specific, and they have the qualifications, experience, training, skills, responsibilities, and physical tasks and physical skills. And then after that, there's 4 important things that you need in a job description and that you should always include, which is the job functions, the tasks of the employee performance, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, what an employee is expected to do and be able to do. And then we have the education experience is also required, and the physical requirements of the job, so the ability to see, touch, or see, hear, and walk. And then now we have a recruitment selection.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm going to be talking about the recruiting strategies. So although it might seem easy, recruitment of the right talent at the right time and the right place takes a lot of experience and skill, but most importantly, it takes strategic planning, which is an organization's process of defining its direction and making decisions on allocating its resources to pursue the strategy. So understanding the labor market and everything that factors into it is the key to being strategic about your recruiting process. The labor market refers to the availability of employment and labor in terms of supply and demand. Low unemployment creates competition for employees, and high unemployment results in more applicants and more qualified applicants. When there's a job opening, it's the responsibility of the human resource management professional to fill that position. They must first follow all the steps of developing a recruitment strategy in order to prepare. First, you refer to a staffing plan, which is a process that makes sure your organization has the right number of people with the right skills to take care of the business needs. To create a staffing plan, you need to evaluate your goals and find out what your organization needs to accomplish. Identify your influencers and what factors might affect the staffing plan. List all of your current workers, resources, and staff. Review your goals and imagine what resources will be needed to accomplish them. Lastly, compare your end state with the current state to develop your plan. The next step in developing a recruitment strategy is to confirm the job analysis is correct through questionnaires. Because existing employees already know their job so well, ask them to do a study to get an accurate description of their job based on a review of their duties and responsibilities. So it doesn't ask about their performance, just what they do on a day-to-day basis. The next step in developing a strategy is to write the job description and specifications. Make sure that these are up to date and correct. Make it as clear and descriptive as possible so that the candidates know exactly what they're applying for and that there's no surprises. Make sure you use simple terms and that you proofread so you don't confuse the candidates. The next aspect of developing a business strategy is to have a bidding system to recruit internal candidates that are qualified for possible promotions. So job bidding is the process in which employees in an organization can apply for open positions if they think that they're qualified. Sometimes an organization may decide to look at internal candidates' qualifications first before looking for anyone else. Internal candidates refer to people that are already working for the company. If an internal candidate meets the qualifications, they may be encouraged to apply for the job, and the job opening might not be published anywhere else. Many organizations have formal job posting procedures and bidding systems in place just for internal candidates. The advantage of job bidding is that it's less costly than hiring an external candidate. You save money by not having to spend resources on advertising the position because the information on the vacant position is only posted internally. You can also save on the cost of orientation and training. Because the candidate has already been working for the organization, training doesn't have to be as extensive as it would be if you were going to hire somebody new. They have already went through orientation and know a lot about the company, so it wouldn't be necessary to redo these things. Another advantage of job bidding is that it facilitates a faster hiring process. The company can fill an open position faster because they don't have to look very far to find the right candidate. The recruitment process can be sped up because they don't have to waste time sifting through resumes, separating those who are qualified from those who aren't. Assessments can be simplified since the company would already have information on the skills and qualifications of the employees from their past evaluations. So although there's many advantages to hiring internal employees, companies often open positions to both in and outside company to bring diversity. And having a diverse company can help raise awareness and increase communication. The next aspect in a recruitment strategy is to determine the best strategy for the position. For example, for a high-level executive position, the company might decide to hire an outside headhunting firm, whereas for an entry-level position, advertising on social networking sites might just be the best strategy. And companies usually use a variety of strategies for the best results. One strategy many recruiters use is speed. Making fast hiring decisions is essential whenever a candidate in high demand decides to switch their job. Top candidates must be hired using their decision timetable, and research shows that top candidates are off the market in less than half of the normal corporate time to fill. Something to consider is how the recruiting will be managed under constraining circumstances such as a short deadline or a low number of applicants. In addition, establishing a process for how applications and resumes will be assessed will save you time later on. It's best to have a plan ahead of time so you're prepared for any situation. Another recruitment strategy is to be global. For jobs that require top talent, the process must have a global recruiting capability. This is because the very best talent does not always live within the commuting distance of your company. The company must have ways to recruit from outside just their surrounding areas. It's in the best interest of the company to offer remote work options. Offering telework to candidates automatically increases the candidate pool. Firms that have capability of managing candidates who work from home have competitive advantage. They can attract that top performer who doesn't live in the area, who thinks they're more productive working from home, or who doesn't want to take a long commute. It's important to build a recruiting culture. The most effective approach is to make every manager an employee recruiter. Because of their continuous interaction with outside talent, everyone must play a role in identifying talent. The most effective recruiting strategies convince employees to be 24/7 scouts. The last recruitment strategy I'm going to go over today is employment branding. Employment branding is the process of building your external image as an excellent place to work, making it easy for potential applicants to hear about what makes working at your firm so exciting. You can dramatically increase the number of qualified applicants in the long run. Overall, there's many different strategies you can use while recruiting, but it's crucial that you determine what strategies work best for your company and always stay on top of the competition. So next, Bree's going to go over the laws.
Hi, my name is Bree, and I'm going to be going over law and recruitment. So, one of the most important parts of human resource management is to know and apply the law in all activities that the human resource department handles. Specifically with hiring processes, the law is very clear on a fair hiring that is inclusive to all individuals applying for the job. The Immigration Reform and Control Act, the IRCA, was adopted by Congress in 1986. This law requires employers to attest to their employees' immigration status. It also makes it illegal to hire or recruit illegal immigrants. The purpose of this law is to preserve jobs for those who have legal documentation to work in the United States. The implications for human resources lie in the recruitment process because before entering employees into the selection process, it is important to know they are eligible to work in the United States. This is why many application forms ask, are you legally able to work in the United States? Dealing with the IRCA is a balancing act. However, because organizations cannot discriminate, the IRCA relates not only to workers you hire, but also to subcontractors. In a subcontractor situation, your organization can still be held liable if it is determined your organization exercises control over how and when the subcontractors perform their jobs. HR professionals must verify both the identity and employment eligibility of all employees, even if they are temporary employees. The INS 19 form is the reporting form that determines the identity and legal work status of an employee. If an audit is performed on your company, you would be required to show a 19 forms for all your workers. If an employer hires temporary workers, it is important to manage data on when work visas are to expire to ensure compliance. Organizations can be penalized $100 to $1,000 per hire. There is a software solution for management of this process, such as the Human Resource Data Manager. Once all data about workers are inputted, the manager is sent reminders if work authorization visas are about to expire. Employers are required to have the employee fill out the 19 form their first day of work. The second section must be filled out within 3 days after the first day of employment. The documentation must be kept on file 3 years after the date of hire, or for 1 year after termination. Some states, though, require the 19 form be kept on file for as long as the person is employed with the organization. In response to the September 11th terrorist attack in 2001, the Patriot Act was signed, introducing legislative changes to enhance the federal government's ability to conduct domestic and international investigations and surveillance activities. As a result, employers needed to implement new procedures to maintain employee privacy rights while also creating a system that allowed for released information requested by the government. The act also amended the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, allowing the federal government easier access to electronic communications. For example, only a search warrant is required for the government to access voicemail or email messages. The act also amended the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. The government is allowed to view communications if an employee is suspected of terrorism, and the government does not have to reveal this surveillance to the employer. It is prudent for the human resource professionals and managers to let potential employees know of these new requirements before the hiring process begins. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, is a federal agency charged with the task of enforcing federal employment discrimination laws. The EEOC requires collection of data and investigates discrimination claims for organizations with more than 15 employees. Under the EEOC law related to the recruitment process, employers cannot discriminate based on age, which 40 years or older, disability, genetic information, national origin, sex, pregnancy, race, and religion. In job announcements, organizations usually have an EEO statement. In addition to including the EEO policy in the job announcement, HR is required to post notices of the EEOC policies in a visible part of the work environment, such as your break room or like even in the bathrooms. Although the EEOC laws in hiring are clear about discrimination, an exception may occur called the bona fide occupational qualification, which is the BFOQ. The BFOQ is a quality or attribute that is reasonably necessary to the normal operation of the business and that can be used when considering applicants. To obtain a BFOQ exception, a company must prove that a particular person could not perform the job duties because of sex, age, religion, disability, and national origin. Examples of BFOQ exceptions might include a private religious school, which may require a faculty member to be of the same denomination. Mandatory retirement is required for airline pilots at a certain age, or a restaurant relying on a certain sex versus another. However, many arguments for the BFOQ would not be considered valid. Race has never been a BFOQ. Customers having a preference or assuming a BFOQ would apply might be a mistake. Seeking legal counsel before writing a job description would be prudent. Other aspects to consider in the development of the job description are disparate impact and disparate treatment. These are two ways to classify employment discrimination cases. Disparate impact occurs when an organization discriminates through the use of a process, affecting a protected group as a whole rather than consciously intending to discriminate. Some examples of disparate impact might include requiring a high school diploma, which may not be important to employment, however, could discriminate against racial groups. Another example could be a height requirement, which could limit the ability of women or persons of certain races to apply for the position. Disparate treatment when one person is intentionally treated different than another does not necessarily impact the larger protected group as a whole, as in disparate impact. The challenge in these cases is to determine if someone was treated differently because of their race or gender, if there was another reason for the different treatment. In conclusion, we've talked about how different laws affect the recruitment and selection process. There's a lot to keep in mind when hiring and firing that can legally affect your company. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Did you?
Peter.
I'm like, that must be serious. 100.